You're welcome along to the first Monaghan Way Podcast, brought to you in association with Northern Sound, with myself, Sean McCaffrey. And we said, if we're going to go the Monaghan Way, let's go out of our way, and that's exactly what we've done. We've come right out here to the borders of Monaghan, Cavan, and indeed, would you believe it, Fermanagh, to one of the oldest GAA clubs in County Monaghan. It's the Sons of St Patrick Currin GFC. The skies are blue, the sun is out, the grass is green, and we're going to be chatting to the chairman of the club, Kieran Kearns. So my thanks firstly, Kieran, for inviting us out here. I tell you, you even organised the weather for us here as well, down on the ground. St Patrick's, or Sons of St Patrick's Currin GFC. And a beautiful setting here, right out in the heartland of Monaghan.
Yeah, right on the border actually, Sean, as you rightly said in your introduction of Fermanagh. You could lift a stone and just throw it that way and you land Fermanagh. And if you're brave enough, you could lift another stone and throw it that way and you land in Cavan. But thankfully, Sean, we're on the right side of the border, on the Monaghan side, yeah. So as you rightly said, we are the oldest club in Monaghan, Sean, established in 1886. And we're also the smallest club in Monaghan, with a small membership, Sean. But we have a catchment area that is small also. We take in the hinterlands of the Connaughs and Drum, which is further up to the west here of us, and of course the Scotch House Village as well. So all in all, Sean, we are at the minute the club's going very well. We're in great shape, both on and off the pitch. Our committee, actually our executive committee, Sean, compromises of a full bag. We have all positions filled. We have a lot of expertise on that committee. There's retired school teachers, current school teachers, civil servants, engineers, construction professionals, auctioneers, bank officials. We have it all, and we have a lot of experience there, Sean, and they are very, very hard working committee, and their heart is in the right place, and that is for the community that we represent here. So far so good, Sean. I'm only in this position, I suppose, a few months from January of this year, December of last year. So far so good for the club.
Absolutely, yeah, and you described it perfectly there as well. What makes up a committee nowadays? The volunteer basis of what comes in, but the expertise that has to come in on the back of that then as well. I suppose long gone is the day, and absolutely there's no issue with maybe the farmer coming in and being part of it. It's a business nearly you're running now, isn't it?
Sean, it's unbelievable. Like, I had really no idea. I thought I had an idea until I got involved. It's unbelievable, especially with the ambitious plans that we have in place at the minute, Sean, which is briefly outlined here. We want to develop a new playing pitch down behind us here in the trees, and we have a new standalone gym going over here, Sean, and we want to tidy up this terraced area here and eventually put some seats into the stand, and also a walking track for the community as well. But this will all be community based, Sean. The gym will not be just for the players, it'll be for the community to use as well. Likewise the walking track, of course, and to improve the viewers, the spectators on the day of a game, we're going to upgrade that as well. So that all takes serious work, Sean, from fundraising, from applying for grants and getting planning permission. All that costs money and costs a lot of time, and we're very, very lucky with the committee that we have here at the minute. Like, they really are putting their shoulder to the wheel currently.
It's well known the GAA is always the heart of the community, and obviously there's an awful lot of other things can go on within a community, and rightly so, but the GAA is still always the focal point. And I think that was never more evident when COVID came in, and the first groups that were contacted to get in contact with the community was the GAA.
Absolutely, and we opened our doors, Sean, during that time too, to help along, ease some of the pain that the HSE was feeling back then. And you know, you're right, the GAA is the heart of the community, and it's certainly the case in Currin, in the Scotch House community. Like, we take in, like this year, for example, Sean, we were a GAA only club, a man's boys club. This year, as I say, we're 140 years in existence next year. This year, for the first time ever, we have our first ever LGFA under 10s girls only team, and we also started a mothers and others club as well, which is important. It brings more people into the club, and that's exactly what we're after.
Absolutely. Copman takes in more of the community, as you said. I'm just walking across the pristine surface that you have here, and the white lines all out, ready for preparations and games. Ballpark, if you can pardon the pun, how long have you been on this particular ground?
Quote me on it, but it's around 27 28 years, I
Yeah.
think, Sean. They would have, a lot of work has been done here. It was Father Pat McHugh, I think, and Brian McCabe, I'll speak a wee bit about him in a minute
Yeah.
too, Sean. He was 60 years consecutively as a treasurer of this club, and still on the committee, and he's widely recognised throughout the GAA Association, and indeed got a prestigious award just the start of this year, a recognition award that was presented to him up in Croke Park. Father Pat McHugh, I think, bought this pitch back from Johnny Madden, who still alive today, and they developed it, and they've done a lot of work, Sean, in 30 years, so they have.
Absolutely, they have, because I can remember the field. I talk about out on the concession road.
Concession road.
Anyone that would be travelling from Clonus to Cavan, you're in and out of the north.
That's right.
And Connaugh's is actually surrounded, I think, both sides.
That's right.
By the north. Out there.
That's right.
The field in on the left, the
That's
sheep
right.
used to be on
That's
it.
right.
The crooked goalpost used
That's
to be
right.
on it.
That's right.
That was one of a number of grounds.
Yeah, look at you're right, Sean. You would have crossed the border. In fact, some of our hinterland and catchment area is in Northern Ireland. We're a unique club from that perspective. The pitch out there was widely known. There was a lot of stories I've heard about that. A lot of games on that pitch. A lot of men come off sore out of that pitch. But yeah, look, there was humble beginnings, Sean, for our club, and like we are a resilient club. We went through a lot of pain. Like, I think of the current executive and the current structure that we have here in the facilities. I think of all the people that kept this club going for the last 100 years, and I know I've heard plenty of stories where the club nearly folded on more than one occasion, Sean, and it's people like them that I think about, and that's what drives me on, I suppose, to make sure that when I hand this over, or we hand this over to the next executive, that we hand something that we can be proud of.
Absolutely. I can recall myself coming here. It wouldn't have been a ground that I would have visited all that often until underage football and my own lads started to play.
Yeah.
And I know Currin, Rockcurry, there would be a lot of coming and going there at underage levels,
right.
and that now right up nearly into the minor levels. And every time I came, I always noticed there's something new done.
Yeah.
There's something different done. When I first came, it was just a little bit of terracing here.
Yeah.
Then the stand has appeared. The fresh lick of paint has been going around. The turnstiles have arrived in. It's all the time just building blocks, isn't it?
Building blocks, and our last chairman, who I took over from, John Connolly, who sadly is no longer with us, would have left me in good stead here. He had put this wonderful facility behind us here in place to stand, and also purchased this land down behind us, Sean, so that we can develop as well. So look, that's what it takes. It takes it all. It takes every person to come in and drive it on, and leave something behind you that you can be proud of. And hopefully I'll do that along with the executive, and we'll pass it on to somebody who'll come in with new energy and new plans and drive it on, take it to the next step. That's every GAA club's the same, Sean. We're no different.
Absolutely. And I know when people come, they come to see what happens on the field of play and the players, and they'll support them and they'll give out about them, and the results could be good and the results could be bad. It's not always recognised what happens in behind the doors, in the committee room, and the work that goes on in there.
No, as I said earlier, Sean, when I was playing, I didn't give it a second thought what was happening in there. Not a second thought. My focus was on the pitch and always on the pitch. And I had no doubt all the players, no matter what club they're from, is of the same mindset. But it's not until you get involved in a deep way that you understand the work that goes on to keep the bills paid, keep the lights on, keep the pitch in pristine condition. All that costs money and costs a lot of time. And it's not, as I say, until you get into the nooks and crannies of it till you really experience the level of commitment that's involved.
Numbers wise, players wise, how is things working out from the underage up? Because that's where it all starts. That's, again, the grassroots.
A lot of focus, Sean, in this club has gone into juveniles. We are very, very lucky with the coaches involved at the minute. We have under 10s, but we've right from under 5s and under 6s. A lot of good people. The McCaffrey brothers, Paul Rudden is involved with that as well. And I know then we go to under 10s, and we have Jack McQuaid, Kieran Kearns, Sean McQuaid involved with them. And then we go to the under 12s, 14s, 16s, and we have our under 14, Sean, currently are sitting at top of Division 2, and they are majority of them are still under 12. They've been coached by Declan Smith, Barry Leonard, Eddie Bournes, and a few others, Terry McTee, a few others. That group have been a phenomenal group. They won a Division 1 title under 12s the previous year. So we're very much banking on them. Our under 16s are currently amalgamated with Air Ogue, and they're sitting top of Division 1 in their respective league. We have no under 20s team. Our minors are joined with Clonus, and they're sitting at the top of their division at the minute. And so from a juvenile structure the whole way down, we're very, very successful at the minute, and it's to do with the people that's involved in that. Then we get to our senior team, I suppose, where a lot of emphasis is put on, I suppose, with clubs. Our senior team currently had a slow enough start to the year, but I have no doubt that trajectory is going to start slowly creeping up. The 4 or 5 minors in, and behind they settle down, and the management, the coaching team finds the right dynamic. I have no doubt that trajectory is going to increase on an upward curve. That's what we're hoping for anyway, Sean.
Absolutely. It's just like doing the development work around here, and the blocks that you're building, it's them blocks that start at the nursery schools, coming in and building their whole way up. And you noted there about the amalgamations, and a lot of clubs having to go down that path. And I know it's not maybe always very popular choice within clubs, but sometimes you're developing the players of that age group, because you have to think they need to be there for the senior game when it comes to it.
It's no different. We have to be thinking of the senior team. It's getting as many of these young boys through, but we have to be careful too in where we do that, Sean. We have a focus here on getting the right people to coach them, to manage them, to instill the Currin ethos, and that's resilience and hard work. And thankfully we're blessed in that department with all our juvenile. Sean, like I would have been part of a senior team out here from 2011 to 2017, and whilst we had some wonderful footballers, we had a lot of resilience and a lot of hard work instilled. It was innate in the Currin people, the Scottish people, and it was a golden period for our senior team, where we won everything from junior to intermediate, got to senior, and we were very successful in senior too. And that's something that I experienced, and it's something that I would love for the juveniles of this club to experience someday, to say that they too won something at senior level. And whilst it's not all about winning, it's nice.
It's nice. Absolutely. Nice. You've noted it, the oldest club, 140 years next year, one of the smallest clubs membership-wise in the county, and yet one, and it's the old adage that comes to Monaghan GAA, punching above your weight.
Yeah.
You have produced inter-county top quality players off this field and out of this
unbelievable. And I'll talk through the number of people that I'm obviously aware of, but it's the innate resilience that they have. These people I'm going to talk about now were just had that in abundance. Actually, our first ever Ulster winning player that represented Currin playing for Monaghan was Packy Smith in 1914. It was our first Ulster Championship medal. And Packy Smith's son Patsy represented the club with distinction, and his son Pádraig played for the club, and now all his sons are on that juvenile teams that I've talked about. So the lineage is there, the lineage is there, which is very important. And then we'll go into Hugo Clerkin, who represented the club, and believe it or believe it not, me and Hugo talked about this. Not too many people, the younger generation, would understand or know what Hugo has achieved, but what Hugo achieved was nothing short of remarkable. Come from a small club with no facilities, Sean, no facilities, and he is, part of that 1985 winning team, and Ulster team led an All-Ireland semi-final against Kerry in the replay, and talking to a lot of people, probably just a wee bit before my time, was probably robbed of an All-Star too. Back then, if you got sent off, Sean, you were disqualified. Hugo was a shoe-in and got sent off in the semi-final, I think it was. And then, of course, you go from Hugo to Dick, who started his Monaghan career in 1999 and ended up being the longest serving Monaghan player on record, Sean. And again, what a career he had. He has 2 Ulster medals in his hip pocket as well, and a number of league titles in his hip pocket. And it's people like him, and I think of Vinnie Corey and Desi, and I think of all them boys that really galvanised that Monaghan team when they were going through a bad period. I remember awfully beating them, and after that reassurance came. Dick was very central to that. Part of that, then of course we had Stephen Gabbo Smith, who was an Ulster medalist. He was part of that 2013 team, I think. Jack McCarron, who was part of the Currin club at the time, he has a couple of medals in his hip pocket. And then at minor level, Kieran Kearns has an Ulster medal in his pocket as well. These Ulster medals aren't not.
No, they're easy come
They're not
by.
easy come. There's not that many of them
Yeah.
in Monaghan, and for a small club, we've a lot of them, and we're very proud of all them players.
You just took the words right out of my mouth. It's just the immense pride that you must have, both as a club and as a community, to be able to just list them names of what's been involved and whatever else has been achieved, obviously, in that time as well. That leads us nicely into the modern day. Championship coming round this weekend, All Ireland Series, Monaghan back out again after a long layoff and taking on the Leinster champions Louth. We'll talk a wee bit more about that. And indeed, it was interesting, you just going through those players that have provided so much on the inter-county field. It leads us nicely, Kieran, to where we want to go next. We actually had to step in out of the sun. It was beaming down. We were beginning to feel the sweat there, so we were. And this weekend, championship back for Monaghan, the All-Ireland Series. A long layoff from that quarter-final loss to Donegal. They're facing a Louth team coming off the back of not only having had a semi-final win, but also a big win then in Leinster as well. How big a factor could that be going into this game?
Yeah, look, it will be a factor. Obviously, Louth will be on a high. They've obviously played a couple of more high-intensity games. I know that Monaghan have played a couple of high-profile teams quite recently in challenge games. So, look, they don't carry the same intensity. Look, I remember Louth came down last year, Sean, and I was doing the co-commentary that day with Fergal, and I thought before the game I said to Fergal, I fancy this Louth team today, doing a bit of research on them and stuff like that, and looking well back. Like, since Mickey Hart has taken over that team, the transition has been exponential, and they have fostered into a top table team now, and they've rightly earned that. They're Leinster champions after all. Are they satisfied with the Leinster title now? Are they happy they've ticked that box? A lot of the players, that's what they were after. This is a new competition. Can they raise themselves up again? Monaghan is a hurt team as well after being put out by Donegal. And they'll be looking to start off very strong here against Louth on Saturday.
We probably threw the ball in a bit quick. We jumped straight in there to talk about Louth without maybe tactically looking at what was here. And we'll roll back a wee bit first. You noted about the disappointment, Monaghan losing to Donegal. But Monaghan then come off a high themselves. The promotion back to Division 1.
Huge.
Claiming silverware
Huge.
up in Croke Park as well. And interestingly enough, it has left them that they got what is probably termed, I'm not going to say the easier group, but certainly the group that you would have liked to have gotten the All-Ireland Series as well.
It's a tricky group, that, because if we went in with that mentality, that wouldn't be a good thing for
No.
going in with that mentality. But Down dispatched of Clare quite easily, it must be said. But Clare's not a bad team either, and Down are certainly not a bad team. Monaghan, they're up against the Leinster champions and a Down team that's on a trajectory that's an upward curve too under the current management setup. So it's not going to be easy. But you still fancy Monaghan to get out of that group, hopefully top it and move on. But you rightfully said, they got out of Division 2 in the first year of asking. Gabriel Bannigan is back in the team. Have done a fantastic job. I was delighted to see Gabriel actually getting that role and taking it by the scruff of the neck and doing what he's done to get out of Division 2 in the first time of asking was a brilliant achievement. Was it expected? I don't know. Some people would say yes, but because we were there for 10 years, but there's no right. You've no right to win anything. And he galvanised the team, and they done the business, and they got over the line in Croke Park against Roscommon. And I did mention Jack McCarn earlier on there. He was instrumental in that victory there. And he's going to be instrumental going forward because, Jack has probably earned an unwanted title, I would assume, of super sub, coming off the bench. He scored 1-2, I think, that night against Roscommon, and he done the same against Donegal. He came on after 30 minutes, I think, in the Donegal game, and, he had an almost immediate impact on his composure on the ball, his experience. He's going to be a key player. Of course, you have Desi Ward back now as well, Sean, who is absolutely flying. He gave a masterclass. I think he scored 6 points the last day against Donegal, 2 pointers as well. He's going to be instrumental too. But I think if Monaghan are really to get a foothold in the game against Louth, they need to win the midfield battle. And it's not that it's a weak point. It's an area of concern, I would suspect, from Gabriel's perspective and the team's perspective. Against Donegal, they were outworked, outclassed there. Both Donegal midfielders, I think, scored 9 points or 10 points between them. It's a worrying concern. He took off one of our midfielders 30 minutes into the first half. So hopefully, I would expect and probably know that they have a plan to counteract that and get over that. And again, you have Tommy Duran, who's, we all know in Monaghan, who's within a scheme. He's an accomplished midfielder too. And, I think if we win that battle, it'll go a long way to getting us over the line again, but it won't be easy, Sean.
It's amazing. The new rules has transformed the whole midfield area again, and it's the one where you always look for the big battles. The big battles are back there. If you win the primary possession, you're nearly going to work a score off it, but it's become a bigger battleground for the breaking ball. Long gone are the days now, and Rory Beggan, in fairness, was a wonderful exponent of this, where he could kick out, find his man. It's no fault of any keeper now.
No.
You have to kick for distance. One of the best kickers in the country, Stephen Cluxton, was found wanting against Meath. So it's become the battlefield again.
Excellent point. Stephen Cluxton just changed the game overnight for goalkeepers. He was unbelievable at finding these wee pockets of space, the short kick-outs. It's gone, Sean. Yeah. The short kick-out is gone. It's travelling at least 40 yards now. So that era, the 80s and 90s, where the ball went long and you won your own ball, is back, and back with a bang. It must be said, like all coaches, including myself around the country, are putting a lot of emphasis and focus around your own kick out and breaking ball. How do you win? How do you give yourself best odds to win it? And that's that midfield thing I was talking about earlier on. You spoke rightfully about Rory Beggan. Like, he's instrumental, of course, to Monaghan as well. And the genius that is Jim McGuinness. We all know that Rory Beggan was the top 2-point scorer in the country. Jim McGuinness took that weapon away from Monaghan. Rory only scored a point 45 against Donegal. So you would hope that he would get a few more opportunities to unleash that right foot of his and get a few more 2-pointers, because that will be instrumental too against Louth coming Saturday, Sean.
It will, and Monaghan will have to be doing the opposite against a certain Sam Mulroy as well. We've seen what he done in Croke Park in the Leinster final. For a man that missed the 2-3 points just after the start of the second half, to step up when it was needed for that 2-pointer, it showed serious mental strength.
It tells you a lot about the man and himself as well. He had a couple of bad wides. He admitted, his words, not mine, straight after the game, and the resilience that he showed and the mental fortitude that he showed to actually grab that game by the scruff of the neck. 1-7 he hit in the Leinster final, Sean. He is deadly accurate from dead ball. Of course, Monaghan will know that, and their discipline will have to be top notch, because he will convert 95% of them free kicks given the chance. Another dangerous man there is Craig Lennon, dynamic wing back. He is such a classy act. He was a corner forward, I think, in early days, and they converted him to a wing back. And his explosive runs down, and not only explosive runs, breaking lines. He's a danger in front of goals. He's renowned for scoring goals. Look at the wonder goal that he scored last week. But that's not the first time he's done that. So Conor Grimes as well. We talked about the midfield pairing as well. They have quality all over. And of course, they've Ger Brennan, who's took the mantle on from the great work that Mickey Hart has done, it must be said. Ger Brennan has just took that by the scruff of the neck and really, really got another step out of them, another tier out of them. And but all that said, I would still fancy Airways playing Division 1 for the 10 years. They're on a crest of a wave too. They got a wee blip against Donegal, as you rightly said, the Division 2 champions. That's not to be forgot about as well. They've great scoring power with Conor McCarthy, 2-point wonder player. We talked about Desi Ward and Jack McCarn. Mihal Bannigan there, he's going to be instrumental. We have quality all over the place to inflict damage.
Used to be a game of tactics, it's still a game of tactics, but it can all evolve and change so much during the course of the game now. The gone is the dropping back and maybe trying to be maybe a blanket defence per se. Donegal were good exponents of just coming out onto the second arc now, the scoring arc, and it's sort of stopping you there and trying to make you, well, if you want to go for a shot, go for it. See, can you pick your way through us, I suppose. So Monaghan, maybe... Will the experience similar against Louth, or would it be a wee bit more open, do you think?
Well, it's if we go back to the Donegal game, Donegal did exactly what you said. They just turned their back and run back and defend the arc. Monaghan didn't. Monaghan went man for man and followed the runners and tagged the runners, stuff like that. Louth, the last time they played Monaghan, gave up the kick out, turned the back and run back. Didn't contest the kick out. So did they do that against Meath? Not to the same extent that they done to us the last time. So it's hard to know, Sean. It's going to be a cagey first half, you would expect, but then I would expect things to open up quite a lot, actually.
It was interesting. Newbridge or nowhere was a tagline that was right back a number of years ago. It's funny to find out it was Newbridge because basically Louth had nowhere to host the game.
Yeah.
And that's what took them down there. A lot of discussion, debate and talk about it, but looking at it, it probably is the most suitable venue. They weren't going to go to Inniskeen naturally and give one, and I don't think Inniskeen would have held it. I think Newbridge is talking as close to a sellout at this stage. Croke Park was never going to host it unless it could be a form of a double header. Breffni, I know the rally's on in Cavan that weekend. That maybe would have just left it a bit difficult as well. It was very hard to find anywhere. And it's as big a journey for Louth, maybe, for a home game as it's come on in.
Look, I suppose from that side of things, the journey for both sets, that's the worst case scenario, I suppose. It's not ideal from that. But in terms of a venue and the pitch and the new stand that they have up there, it's phenomenal. And, it's not going to be an advantage or disadvantage to either team. It's a neutral ground. They've both played there, of course, before. And so from that perspective, it's not going to be an advantage to Louth or disadvantage. But I think from the Inniskeen perspective, Louth have probably played as much games there, if not more games there, than Monaghan have this year. And had the capacity, it probably would have went ahead there. But no, I don't think the pitch is going to, or the venue is going to have any advantage or disadvantage either way, Sean.
It's field to field.
Yeah.
Just finally, by all accounts, it's a full hand that's available to Gabriel as well. Yeah. I suppose you'd have talked. It'd have been nice to have been getting competitive games. Absolutely, the challenge circuits there would have been good challenges. But the flip side of that, it allows players to recover. It means you have a full panel. It means everybody's available to you. Yeah,
which is great. And like he has a couple of questions. Gabriel, I want to refer to he's a couple of questions to answer. Like, do you start Jack McCarron or do you leave him off? For me, you start him. Davy Garland was probably the man that was keeping Jack off the team there. Garland had a great league. It's hard to know what's happening behind closed doors, who's playing well, and ultimately he played the team that is performing well at training and playing well. So he has a couple of headaches there as well, so which is always good from a management's point of view. I look at it's going to be. I don't think this is going to go. It's going to be a 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 point win by any stretch of imagination. I think this is going to go right down the way, but I still fancy our boys to have enough to get over the line. Just, you touched on it there. You've been in management, involved in management. You've been at the training grounds. You've been watching the players. How big a part does the performance at training play in your head as to the team you're going to pick come the weekend? Tactically, if you're sitting, a player that can do something for you, that one night in the week might have been their best performance on the training field, and would it be sore on them to maybe not picked on the back of that, considering that they could still do something on the field for you? Because you just see that with teams that you say, why they're not starting? Not showing well at training, but yet when they come on, it's a different scenario. It is. But look, unfortunately, every player goes through it where they are hitting a purple patch, and maybe come championship time they dwindle off, and that's the reality of football. And Gabriel and his backroom team will be picking the best 15 to start to represent Monaghan, and ultimately you don't be thinking of the first 15. You have to be thinking midway through the game and how we're finishing this game. What's going to be the scenario? How do we think this is going to pan out? And what's our best team for that scenario? So he'll have a full plan of a start 15, half it through, and he'll have planned for their subs coming on as well. But there'll be we'll be under no illusion that they'll be well prepared. Like, the evidence is there. We're Division 2 champions. We're back up at Division 1, so they're in good hands. Absolutely, and it should be noted that GPSs are off the wall now in regards to ground that's been covered. Particularly, they talk about the middle third, and you're building your team, as you said, to that now. You get good 50 out of somebody. You need someone to finish out the last 20 for you. And it's a like-for-like player you're looking for as well, more often than not too. Yeah, and look at it, he probably has that option. He has probably 2 players for every position. There's a couple of players that we didn't talk about there as well. The young lad from Cromartin, his name Stephen Mooney. I think he's on fire at the minute. He hit something like 110 or 111 for his club there a couple of weeks ago. I know he got a few minutes in the Donegal game, but he's another option scoring forward. look at he has options all over the place. You know what I mean? There's a couple of midfielders there as well, and he has a number of half backs. And I think our strongest line is probably our half backs there. The big positive for me is Desi Ward back. A good Desi Ward fit and firing on all cylinders. He's going to be instrumental for that team.
And through the grapevine, we're hearing Killian Lavelle, a possibility maybe as well. He picked up the shoulder injury in the Division 2 encounter actually against Meath up in Park Talton that day. But there's a hope that maybe he could. It may be a game too soon, or it could be bring him in the second half. It was required possibly as well. We'll watch with interest what team's going to come out. Let me tell you.
Yeah, well, what a man to have.
What a man, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Warrior.
Well, it's been fantastic. Thanks a million, firstly, for having us up here in the Currin grounds here. And the weather most definitely played its part. And the countdown is on, and looking forward to it now. And a big weekend, the championship on the horizon. And we know the shocks are there. You said it's only a stone's throw over to Cavan. We can still nearly hear them shouting about that big win over Mayo. They've shown the surprises in the championship.
Oh, fair play to them. Like, nobody's seen that coming, absolutely. But you're talking to, I'm involved with the Cavan team actually, and an ex-county players actually, the manager of the team, and I'm giving him a hand. He told me that on the grapevine they were geared up for this one. They were put a lot of effort into that Mayo game, and they seen a few flinches in their harmony, and they knew they could take them, but nobody else did, Sean. So it's a phenomenal achievement. Yes, there's going to be more surprises. I think I heard a couple of the commentators in RT saying, on the day any team can beat any team, and there's going to be a few more, Sean, before this season's over.
So that brings us to the end of our first podcast of the Monaghan Way in association with Northern Sound, and indeed myself, Sean McCaffrey. Again, our thanks to Kieran Kearns, and most importantly to the Currin Club here as well, the Sons of St Patrick Currin Club, indeed, for welcoming us along.